I'm Theo.
And I'm Juliet.
And this is Apologies Accepted.
We offer an entertaining look at some of the big issues in history by examining public apologies of the famous and infamous.
We're looking at politicians, serial killers, actors, and you.
Send us a public apology you would like to make, and we'll read it on the air and give you a chance to redeem yourself or just get some guilt off your shoulders.
We're here for you. Once a week, maybe more if you're really, really sorry.
Hi, everybody. This is Apologies Accepted, the podcast. And I'm not Theo.
And I am not Juliet.
And it's freezing here in my kitchen today. It's like 50 degrees. I've got a sweater on and a scarf, and it's probably 100 degrees in Austin. What's it like there?
Oh, my God. It is 100% humidity. It is like, it was 99 degrees yesterday at a certain point. It's a sauna outside and blah.
Yuck.
Yeah.
Yuck.
Yuck is right. And walking the dog, right?
Right.
Going from your house to the car, it's just murder.
It's awful.
I've forgotten what heat was like. And now everybody gets to listen to me for the next 6 months, bitch about how hot it is.
That's until November. That's a long time. So what else is shaking bacon?
A bunch of nothing, which on one hand is great. And then a bunch of everything as I kind of like figure out, what does this future look like? Opportunities to the left of me. No, there aren't. Opportunities to the right of me. No, there aren't. And so, yeah, I'll say like, we're getting ready. I can say this because by the time this airs, we'll be back. We're going to go on vacation and we're going to go to Italy for 2 weeks. Yeah. And I'm very excited.
That's totally exciting. And you're going to Tuscany, which is going to be gorgeous. It's beautiful. Maybe not quite as hot as it would be in July or August. So that'll be nice.
It is 50 to 70 degrees there, which is so foreign to me right now. I can't wait. I'm going to have to like pack a sweatshirt, a sweater. What? Yeah. And then we'll just do what we always do, which is hang out, go around, look at things, eat and drink. And of course, I'm still famously on Ozempic. So I'm going to the food capital of the world with no appetite. So, yeah.
You could probably choke down some food.
Well, I think in Tuscany you have to. I bet you they've got like a requirement. You have to eat a loaf of bread a day.
And several espressos. Yes.
Yeah. So super
I expect
excited.
lots of pictures. Send tons of pictures while you're there.
Lots of pictures. And I have already made up in my head. Here we go.
Okay.
We pull off the side of the road. I'm driving because I can drive in Italy because it's on the same side of the road as the U.S. And I get out and there's a farm stand and there's a little old lady and she picks her own olives and crushes them to make olive oil.
Yes.
And she puts them in these gorgeous little bottles that somehow she just has from like when her grandmother was a little kid, right? Thousands of these. Great. And I buy some and then I give her my address and she just sends them to me by FedEx every couple of months. So I have an endless supply of authentic little old lady olive oil from Italy. Thank you.
I thought you were going to say you bought the company and then you became rich making olive oil.
Oh.
Your idea is good too.
No, that sounds like too much work. I'm trying to not do that.
Well, James would do all the work. You just, tell him to buy the company.
Perfection. Problem solved. Done. And we'll call it little old lady. LOL.
LOL. Perfect.
Look at that.
There you go.
The branding writes itself.
You just need to find the little old lady.
Who smiles and laughs a lot. Look at Nana's olive oil. It's so good for you. Okay. Everybody sounds like a vampire.
Accent.
Thank you. That's my Pope accent.
Oh, okay.
That's also my English accent. Okay, and so that's me. Vacation time. Can't wait. What's going on with Shakin' Bacon?
Not much. Just did some routine medical checkup stuff and got some of that out of the way.
Fun.
Well, no, it wasn't fun. This isn't what's fun bacon. This is what's shaken bacon. And I am thinking about going to Palm Springs for a week to hang out by a pool in the heat and the dry heat, not the humid heat, thank God, before work picks up again in July. So I'm looking at houses on Airbnb and Vrbo and whatnot. And, it's just as expensive in Joshua Tree to rent a house for a week on Vrbo or Airbnb as it is in Palm Springs, which surprises me.
Because everybody wants to go out to Joshua Tree.
I guess they do.
Yeah.
But man, I mean, there's nothing there except for Joshua Tree, which is quite the draw. But still, there's like one Starbucks and not really that great selection of restaurants, and as opposed to Palm Springs, where you pretty much got everything you need right there. So anyway, I'm still probably going to pick Palm Springs. So we'll see. There's a cute place in La Quinta, but we'll see. So that's it for me. Shall we talk about the story for the week?
Yeah, let's go straight into this breaking news, this important and urgent breaking news. And I was very excited to do Diddy.
Yeah.
Because I don't know anything about him. And as I did research, I discovered I really didn't know anything about you. I know your name. I wasn't sure if I was making up in my head that once upon a time you were Puff Daddy.
Yeah. No, you were right.
Was that just me confusing people? Because sometimes I do. Like, I famously confused Liza Minnelli and, Judy Garland.
Streisand? Oh, Judy Garland.
Yeah. Yeah. So I just don't know a lot about celebrity culture, and the pieces that I do know, completely unreliable. So let's go. Let's do Diddy.
What did you find out about Sean Combs? Maybe you could tell us a little bit about who he is before we talk about what he did.
Okay, great. Well, so I thought, let me find a documentary, and the documentary that I need is in production right now, and it's being produced by 50 Cent, and it is called Did He Do It?
No.
Question mark. Yep.
Is it?
Netflix bought it. That was a fan crowdsourced name and fan name. 50 Cent does not like Diddy, from what I can gather from clips I have seen. And it is a not like that has been going on for years. And so the story with Sean Combs / Puff Daddy / Diddy
/ P. Diddy.
I just can't keep up. It's too many. I can only do two names.
Puffy. Yeah.
It's got everything. It's got Tupac. It's got the beginning of rap, hip hop.
Yeah.
It's got gay stuff. It's got rumors. It's got murder conspiracy. And so I went down such a rabbit hole on a YouTube channel that is hosted by Noor Jasmine, and her show is called Hear Me Out.
All right.
And she wears a tinfoil hat.
Oh my God.
And on the front of it, it says, Hear Me Out. And she wears that hat throughout the episode. And I only watched one, so I don't really know what her channel's about, but the sense I get is it's all about conspiracy theories.
I see.
And so the tinfoil hat, ha ha ha. And also it's a great way not to get sued, because, you're going to come for me, P. Diddy? I'm a girl wearing a tinfoil hat saying you murdered 8 people. Come on. But then she does, right? She, if she's careful. Allegedly. But here's what I got. So Diddy is born in Harlem. His mother was a model and his dad was in the military. There's some speculation stuff that his dad may have also been involved in a drug operation. I mention that only because it was mentioned. Let's see. So Sean becomes Puff at the tender age of 4 years old, because when he was a little kid, he would get mad and he would huff and puff.
Right.
I always thought that Puff came from smoking marijuana, because that's immediately where my head went, right?
Yeah.
So, no. He grows up, I'll say normal childhood. There wasn't a lot of stuff about that. Graduates from high school, and he goes to Brown University for 2 years. After the second year, he drops out to intern at a record company called Uptown Records. He had a reputation in college for throwing wild parties. Didn't everybody at college have a reputation for throwing wild parties?
No.
Okay. No? See, I didn't go until I was too old to get invited to parties, so I don't know. And then let's see. So he's interning at Uptown Records, and as an intern, he also starts to develop a reputation for throwing wild parties. Okay, let's see here. And then on December 28th in 1992, a thing happens. And the thing that happened is that Uptown Records was putting on an event, right? Rapper was going to come out, a hip hop artist was going to come out and perform. And Sean Combs, I'm just going to call him Diddy because that's what I've been calling him throughout in all my research, right? At this time, he is known as Puff or Puff Daddy. So Diddy's in charge of the event, and he outsources the event planning to some people who were not qualified to do it. And they sold 5,000 tickets, and the venue only held 2,700 people.
Oh, wow.
So the 2,000 people who were in line outside and not allowed in weren't having it. And so they forced their way in. And here's where I start tripping over language, right? Because the audience is mostly Black, and words like riot or mob get used, right? Mm-hmm. And they do have those racist overtones. So I want to be very careful about, because I'm going to default and just say, and a riot broke out, right? All hell breaks loose is what happens. And a couple of people die. And the mayor of New York, David Dinkins at the time, has a report that is an investigation, and the report from the investigation names Sean Combs, names and blames Sean Combs, right? This guy didn't do his job, and that's why this terrible riot broke out, and that's why people died. So the families of the victims sued Sean Combs. Oh, wow. So even as like a early stage producer, somebody who's just transitioned from it being an intern and working for free and learning the business to showing their skills, right? Because that's a thing that I'll say is very clear, is that Diddy has a lot of talent when it comes to music. And that sounds kind of stupid for me to say because he is Diddy, but there you go, right? Mm-hmm. And so even from the early days, bullshit has followed him along. He gets fired a year later from Uptown Records, and Andre, who's the guy who owned Uptown Records, says, I fired him so that he could go out and get rich. I told him, I'm going to let you go. You're too talented to be here, and you need a kick in the ass. And
that's how it works.
Get out there and spread your wings and fly. Diddy says that he was fired because he just couldn't get into the corporate mindset. He was passionate and he just couldn't play politics, right? However, this turns out to be a great event in his life because he starts his own record company with Clive Davis. And Clive Davis is I don't know if he's still alive, music mogul who owned a record company called Arista Records. And so Diddy said to Clive Davis, I want to make hip hop mainstream. I want to make it cool. We've got so much going on, blah, blah, blah. You can help me. And so this was considered a really smart move by the industry for Arista Records / Clive Davis to partner with new up and coming. Everybody's loving this guy. He's just come from Uptown. He's got street cred, to use a word, right? Isn't this all fantastic? So Diddy forms Bad Boy Entertainment and formally partners with Arista Records. Now, here's where I fall down. There's a little bit more about Diddy and stuff, right? But this is really much more your area of expertise. So you used to work in a record store, and you worked in a record store way back in the day, I believe, before they recorded sales. And so they didn't have, okay, so this is what I remember, right? And this is like late 80s, early 90s. There was the top of the charts, and this was the popular music. And then at a certain point, another list came out, and it was the scan codes. And this is what people are actually buying. And they were two radically wild, different lists, right? There was and it was all hip hop and I say all, like, I don't know. I didn't really I wasn't a music person. So do you remember that period?
Vaguely. I mean, a lot of that was above my pay grade at the time because I was quite young, but I mean, of course I was quite young. But, but I do remember that the record store manager would have to report up to the labels, like what was selling. And sometimes that wasn't necessarily always exactly the truth for various reasons. So like sometimes the reps from the labels would come out and you buy you dinner or whatever. And in return, maybe you would say their record sold a little better than they actually did or something like that. So I imagine, I don't really remember being involved in any of this, but I imagine once they started scanning barcodes and things like that, and that the story changed drastically.
Yeah, I do remember being very confused in record stores, not only because of my absolute lack of knowledge about records, but just with this double list, because I worked in a bookstore and we also had a bestseller list, right? And there were two competing lists. There was the New York Times and then there was another one and I can't remember what it was. And every now and then they would have a difference. And for a while there, we had two different racks. We had the New York Times bestsellers and then we had the other thing. And I wish I could remember what it was, but I don't. And so it was just very, on one hand, it made sense because I was used to like, oh, there are differences. But on the other hand, they weren't these wildly different genres, right? So whatever, the hip hop suddenly, because of the scan codes, starts getting the credit or the recognition that it deserves, right? Because sales speak. That is just what happens. So we move into 1994 and Bad Boy releases the Notorious B.I.G., an album whose name was Ready to Die.
Bad Boy was Puffy's label.
Yes, that was Puffy's label. So Bad Boy Entertainment has a artist known as Biggie, and the Notorious B.I.G., and he releases his first album called Ready to Die. Around this time, and kind of the reason the title gets mentioned is that Hear Me Out is talking about these murders that happen and how there are these 8 famous murders around. And so this is like a clue that murder's getting ready to happen, right? Okay, cool. However, I will also say it was a good show. I did enjoy it. And I think if it is conspiracy theories, I will give it another watch for other conspiracy stuff.
Cool.
So at a certain point, Usher enters the scene. Usher is also a recording artist, and he was 13 years old, and he was starting his career, and he was deemed too soft.
Oh,
just too soft a kid, right? Not enough roughness to him. You know what soft means. Let me explain it some more. And so the record, and this is where I'm just going to like not worry about getting real specific. There's so many record labels. There's so many people involved in all of this. There were so many names that like I'd heard it once before maybe, but so his manager or his record company, the guy who runs the record company, sent Usher at the age of 13 to go live with Diddy.
Interesting.
To rough him up.
To toughen him up.
Show him how life is. And the reason that they did that was because Sean Combs, Diddy's image, was a little rough, right?
Yeah.
And so they were like, but you're really a nice guy. So you actually do know how to hide your softness. So teach Usher to do that. Okay, so Usher went to Puffy's Flavor Camp for a year, which is what it was called.
Wow.
Where he learned how to be rough.
Wow.
Now, supposedly there were wild parties happening and supposedly a lot of stuff that would be massively illegal for a 13-year-old to witness.
Yeah, I guess.
If any of that's true. And then around this time also, a young Canadian recording artist, Jesus, thank you, Tongue, named Justin Bieber meets Usher. And Usher is like, hey, Diddy, I've got a gift for you. That's the quote, right? And so, of course, our conspiracy theorist is like, this is now what's opening the door up for all the gay stuff because Justin Bieber is a gift and blah. She doesn't make it quite that crazy. I'm overemphasizing that. Could have just been, hey, I have a gift for you, meaning he's a really great artist.
Yeah.
So Justin Bieber also ends up spending a lot of time with Diddy at a very young age. And
Wow.
I don't know I don't know if it was as young as 10.
Wow.
But I will say it was definitely younger than 13.
Usher? Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Dan, where are these people's parents?
Counting the money.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
That's exactly right.
Well, and then also it was the 90s. Were any parents paying attention to their kids at all? Right? Okay, so 94, and here's where we get into Tupac, and it is such a rabbit hole with Tupac that I am going to say, I'll just do real brief outlines, move things along. I'm sure you know this in great detail, or far better than I did. Like, I knew Tupac had been shot, and I knew there was like an East Coast, West Coast rivalry thing. So there's an artist, his name is Tupac, and in the industry, Ed, stop me if you've got more depth to add, or if I make something a little more ominous than it should have been.
Okay.
Feel free. So Tupac's a recording artist, and he gets shot 5 times, but survives. And he gives an interview where he accuses Diddy and Biggie of being behind the attempt on his life. So that's kind of our first time where an artist says, Diddy, not nice.
Right.
Then there's this bit where Tupac later, months later, a year later, I don't know, all this happens within a tight window of about 2 years. Tupac goes to New York City to record at a studio, and he's in the lobby waiting to get in the elevator to get up. And so guy pulls out a gun, and it seems to be an attempted robbery. However, Tupac says that he saw a friend of Biggie's in the lobby, and so he gets mugged / robbed. They seem to be very interested in him. He feels like that's a message that's being sent to him. He's thinking it's a fake robbery. And he gets up to the recording studio, and there is Diddy and Andre, who owned Uptown Records, and Biggie. And Tupac says, none of those guys would look me in the eye. Everybody in the room was real kind of, I'll use the word wiggy, right?
Uh-huh.
And it just didn't feel right. And somebody even said something like, what are you doing here? And it kind of took that to mean like, what are you doing alive? Not what are you doing in the room, right?
Wow.
So later he gives an interview to Vibe magazine. And Vibe magazine at the time was like one of the recording industry resources. And so it's a big fucking deal when he is quoted in Vibe. And of course he's implicating Diddy. Diddy says in a later interview, and I'm going to read this verbatim because it's pretty great. Okay. So I don't know which periodical this interview appeared in. However, the writer says, at the mention of the incident, meaning the robbery in New York City, Puffy, Diddy, sucks his teeth in frustration. Here's what happened, he says. I went to Atlanta with my son. At that time, there wasn't no... Oh, I'm sorry. I jumped ahead of myself. And so I'm gonna short circuit here for a quick second. Sorry, everybody. Okay. And we'll get back to this article. So there's a follow-up to this New York shooting. And Suge Knight, who is a friend of and / works with Tupac. I believe Tupac is on Suge Knight's label, which was Death Row Records. Suge Knight is at a nightclub in Atlanta, and Diddy is also at the same nightclub in Atlanta. And somebody, according to Suge, somebody in Diddy's camp shoots and kills one of Suge's friends inside the club, right?
Okay.
There's an interview with Diddy about the Atlanta shooting where Suge Knight's friend is killed. And the writer says, at the mention of the incident, Puffy sucks in his teeth in frustration. Here's what happens, he says. I went to Atlanta with my son. At that time, there wasn't really no drama. I didn't even have bodyguards. So that's a lie that I did. I left the club and I'm waiting in my limo, talking to girls. I don't see Suge in the club. We don't make any contact or nothing like that. He gets into a beef in the club with some people, but that's not the word that is used. I knew the majority of the club, but I don't know who he got into the beef with, what it was over, or nothing like that. All I heard is that he took the beef at the bar. I see people coming out. I see a lot of people I know. I see him and I see everybody yelling and screaming and shit. I get out of the limo and I go to him and I'm like, what's up? You all right? I'm trying to see if I can help him. That's my motherfucking problem, Puff says, pounding on his palm in frustration. I'm always trying to see if I can help somebody. Gotta love that. And so I'm going to kind of leave it at there. We're going to say Tupac is killed. There was an arrest that happened within the last 6 months. And this has been a mystery for decades now. Who killed Tupac? And apparently the guy who killed Tupac is a guy named Cassie D, who has written a book about it. And the book is called Compton Street Legend. And in it, Cassie D explains all the ins and outs about all the relationships with all the people and all the anger and why would somebody want to kill Tupac. And he says that Diddy hired him to kill Tupac and Suge Knight.
Okay. Interesting.
So there we go. I didn't know that Sean Combs, Diddy, Puffy, was that instrumental. Well, let me rephrase that. But, in the hip hop scene, I knew he was famous, but I also tend to think of him more as like, he's a clothing designer too.
Right.
Right. And he's got lots of businesses and he makes lots of money. And that's kind of more what I think of him. But that's his history. That's what's followed him along all of these years. And now we get to, bad boy behaving badly.
Right. Exactly.
And now we get to the meat of our story.
Yes. So Diddy apologized last Sunday for a 2016 assault on a singer who goes by Cassie. Her full name is Cassie Ventura, at a Los Angeles hotel. The assault was caught on hotel video, and the video was published by CNN last week. The video shows Combs, we'll call him Puffy, P. Diddy, whatever, Combs running after Cassie in a hallway at the Intercontinental Hotel in Century City. Then he grabbed her as she tried to call the elevator. He threw her to the floor and kicked her before picking up her belongings and dragging her away off screen. Other parts of the footage appeared to show him shoving her into a corner and later throwing a vase across a room. The LA County District Attorney's Office said that it could not press charges against Puffy over the video footage because the incident occurred, quote, beyond the timeline where a crime of assault can be prosecuted. So the statute of limitations was up. The video footage seemed to confirm an event described in Cassie Ventura's lawsuit against Combs from November 2023, which accused him of physical and sexual abuse as well as sex trafficking. And the lawsuit also alleged that he paid the hotel $50,000 for the security footage, which is confusing to me because if you're going to pay the hotel $50,000 for the security footage, how did it get to CNN? Did somebody from Puffy's group send it to CNN, or did the hotel not give him the only copy? I don't know. That's just something I wondered. I have no answers. At the time of the lawsuit, Puffy's attorney accused Ventura of filing a lawsuit riddled with baseless and outrageous lies. Of course, turned out not to be so.
Not so outrageous or lies.
Yes, exactly. Also, according to the lawsuit, Diddy would have Cassie and his employees fly in male sex workers for parties who he would force Cassie to have sex with, and he would drug her with a variety of drugs, including ecstasy, cocaine, ketamine, marijuana, and alcohol, to the extent that she said that she would need an IV of fluids the next day to recover. She alleged that he physically abused her through the course of their 11-year relationship and that he exerted total control over her life. In 2010, he was allegedly so mad at her relationship with Kid Cudi that he told her he would blow up Cudi's car. The lawsuit claims that Cudi's car then exploded in the driveway around that time, which Cudi's spokeswoman confirmed to the New York Times. So, not saying that Puffy, P. Diddy had anything to do with it, but it's just interesting that around that same time.
The one thing you threatened, which is pretty fucking rare to happen.
Right.
It happens.
Cars don't just explode for no reason.
Unless it's a Tesla.
Cassie's lawsuit was settled the day after she filed it for an undisclosed amount, and Combs' lawyer said Mr. Combs' decision to settle the lawsuit does not in any way undermine his flat-out denial of the claims. However, or interestingly, several additional lawsuits have recently been filed against Diddy, accusing him of decades-long patterns of sexual assault, vindictive and violent behavior, and sex trafficking. A separate lawsuit that accuses his son Christian Combs of sexual assault names Sean Combs as a co-defendant. In late March, the Department of Homeland Security raided multiple homes belonging to Diddy as part of what they called an ongoing investigation. Haven't heard anything resulting from that yet, but that wasn't that long ago, so the investigation is still ongoing. One of the other lawsuits recently filed against Diddy is from Rodney Jones, who is a music producer who worked on Diddy's most recent album, the Love Album. And he says that Combs forced him to solicit sex workers and perform sex acts to the pleasure of Mr. Combs at sex parties in 2022 and 2023 and threatened physical violence if he didn't comply. He also accuses Combs of having underage girls at these sex parties. So that would not be a surprise.
Nope, it would not be.
To me, at least. Just this past week, Combs was named as a defendant in another lawsuit by a former New York Fashion Institute of Technology student, April Lampros, which accused Combs of 4 instances of sexual assault from the 90s to the early 2000s. The suit further accuses Combs of assault, battery, negligent infliction of emotional distress, and violation of the Victims of Gender-Motivated Violence Protection Law. Diddy's attorney said in response, Mr. Combs views these lawsuits as a money grab. Because of his fame and success, he is an easy target for accusers who attempt to smear him. Earlier in December, Combs had offered a similar denial on Instagram, saying, "Let me be absolutely clear. I did not do any of the awful things being alleged. I will fight for my name, my family, and the truth." Combs has not been charged with any crimes and has denied all wrongdoing. That's our disclaimer.
And this is a comedy show. We're both wearing our tinfoil hats. Yeah. I got lots of opinions, and they're all mine, and they are opinions.
Yes.
Also known as facts.
Right. So that's that. We can talk about the apology now. Diddy put out an apology. Not sure what date it was, but it was last week, I think. And this is an apology for the assault on Cassie. And he said, "It's so difficult to reflect on the darkest times in your life, but sometimes you got to do that. I was fucked up. I mean, I hit rock bottom, but I make no excuses. My behavior on that video is inexcusable. I take full responsibility for my actions in that video. I'm disgusted. I was disgusted then when I did it, and I'm disgusted now. I went and I sought out professional help, had me go into therapy, go into rehab, had to ask God for his mercy and grace. I'm so sorry, but I'm committed to being a better man each and every day. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm truly sorry." So, yeah, that was the apology. I will look at the apology now through the criteria that we have.
Because he does, it drives me crazy because he does hit a couple of things, but again, thoughts and opinions.
He does. He did express regret. He did not explain what went wrong. He didn't say what led him to beat that poor woman like that. He did acknowledge responsibility. Obviously, he says, "I take full responsibility for my actions in that video." He did declare repentance. He said he was sorry. Truly sorry. There was no offer of repair, and there was explicitly not a request for forgiveness, which I don't know why you would go on and apologize and say, "I'm not asking for forgiveness," but I don't know. Maybe that's supposed to make you seem like a bigger person in some weird, twisted sort of way. But you should ask for forgiveness in your apologies, everyone. So an attorney for Cassie responded to Combs' statement in a video, responded to Combs' video in a statement last Sunday, saying, "Combs' most recent statement is more about himself than the many people he has hurt. When Cassie and multiple other women came forward, he denied everything and suggested that his victims were looking for a payday, that he was only compelled to apologize once his repeated denials were proven false shows his pathetic desperation, and no one will be swayed by his disingenuous words." Well said, Meredith Firetog. And I give this apology, just on the face of it, as an apology, I give it a 3, but I do not accept it. And so as a result, I give it an overall 0.
0, 0, 0. And I think, although this is not in our metric, but maybe there's a way to put it in. And that is sincerity / self-serving, right?
Yeah.
And I think
you should have something for that.
Yeah, and so that gets to subtract some points. So, technically he says the word sorry and he makes a public statement. So 2 points for hitting a couple of the marks, but truly it's a 0. And this is an instance where I'm not worried about I'm trying to not have a double negative here. I'm not worried about my inability to separate the crime from the apology. The incident from the apology. It is absolutely never okay to hit somebody ever. It doesn't matter, period, full stop.
Yeah.
So, unless they were trying to kill you.
Right.
Right.
Of course.
Or unless they look at you the wrong way. Or unless they got in line in front of you at the grocery store. Like, there are moments.
Or they just annoy you.
Yeah. Or they're breathing too loud. Like, I don't know. They don't give you the respect you deserve. So, yeah, it's just fucking awful. I'm really glad for Cassie that the video has been released. However, it was released, right?
Yeah.
Because this is the piece that helps prove that she's not in it just for money or just making shit up to get money.
Absolutely. And hopefully there will be video for the other people that have accused him, but probably not. But you never know. I mean, supposedly in some of these instances where Diddy is accused of assaulting people, that he filmed it himself. So you never know. Well,
we're going to say, I bet there's video, and I bet it's in the hands of the FBI.
I hope so.
Yeah. I was talking to my sister, I don't know, like 2 weeks ago, whatever, when we were like, Diddy apologized. Let's do Diddy. And she knew quite a bit. Okay. And she knew quite a bit. And and words that I never thought I would hear come out of my sister's mouth, and I didn't want to hear them, came out, right?
Right.
And so the rumor, the word on the street is that Diddy has these big sex parties, and they're called freakouts. And there's one person, pardon?
Freak-offs.
Freak-offs.
That's what I heard. Yeah.
Freak-offs. I heard outs, but
okay.
Could be my ears. Could be my sister. My sister's my source for this, right? So freak-offs, and everybody at the party knows it's going to be a sex party except one person.
What?
Yeah. So my sister said he throws these big sex parties, and one person there didn't necessarily volunteer.
Oh my God.
No, thank you.
No, thank you.
I don't want to hear that from my sister. So if any of that is even like kind of halfway to true, I am sure there is cell phone footage, probably hours and hours of it.
Yeah, no doubt.
So more will be revealed.
Man. Yeah, absolutely. See who gets shot next.
Boy.
So do you have a who's sorry now or an apology expected to sort of change the subject?
I have. It's a hybrid. She's sorry, and I expect there will be an apology. Nicki Minaj.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, thank you. I know. Nicki Minaj was arrested in Amsterdam at Schiphol Airport, I believe yesterday, due to possession of soft drugs.
Yeah.
And it seems that she was fined and let go. So hooray for that. I imagine that there will be an apology she's already apologized to the fans that were waiting for her in Manchester, England, because she wasn't able to get to that concert because the police had detained her for soft drug possession. So I expect that she'll be apologizing for, the new ammo in my luggage in Turks and Caicos. I didn't know.
I was just going to ask you about that. What do you think about that? Somebody else was arrested recently for having ammunition at Turks and Caicos. What's going on there?
I don't know what's so politically motivated about ammunition in Turks and Caicos. I don't think of it as a violent place. I've never been.
No. I mean, they're coming from the U.S. with ammunition, supposedly. So, I mean, but what's the story?
Well, that's it exactly. We have 3 to 5 people, and they were all arrested in Turks and Caicos. The country of Turks and Caicos passed a law a couple of weeks ago that made it illegal to bring ammunition into the country.
Yeah.
Punishable by 12 years imprisonment.
Wow.
And because it's a foreign country, you don't get to say, but this bullet's from my son's 3rd grade report, and I just had it in my pur. I didn't know it was there.
Right. I mean, that's crazy. Why are you carrying ammunition to Turks and Caicos? And why are you carrying ammunition if you don't have a gun?
And why do you have ammunition in your stupid suitcase to begin with?
Right.
Well, okay, yes, ever. But like, okay, I have family, they hunt, people have guns.
Sure, if you're hunting, but you store these things in certain ways. I mean,
exactly.
You don't just like throw it in a handful of ammunition in your luggage.
I got nothing for that, right?
That's weird. Huh?
And I don't think anybody has been like in law enforcement, right? I might say, okay, a cop or a detective or whatever on vacation, maybe you do have a stray bullet in a pocket that's in your, maybe. Like, I don't know. That's the only time I can say, you're a hunter. You don't need ammunition to go to Turks and Caicos.
No, you're not going to be hunting in Turks and Caicos.
No, not at all. And so, I don't believe, here I'm going to say, I'm sure it's not. But I'm sure it's not. I'm sure it's not Americans going to spread freedom across the world and prove to Turks and Caicos, you can't imprison me. I'm bringing that bullet in.
Maybe.
That's not what's going on. And if it is, then I hope you do deserve all the bullshit that happened to you. It's expensive to get out of jail. It's expensive to hire attorneys in foreign country. It's just all expensive. And even if you don't go to prison for 12 years, it's going to cost you so much fucking money. But prove your point if that's what you're doing. But I don't think that's what people are doing. Yeah, so that's what's going on. And then with Nikki, probably just the rules don't apply to me because I'm super rich. And
probably
fair enough. And I don't know, was she flying on a commercial flight or a private flight? I don't know. Because The Guardian did a really poor job of answering all my questions.
I can see how she would. I see, as opposed to the Turks and Caicos stories, I can see how she would accidentally have some marijuana in her luggage. Totally. I mean, who hasn't crossed state lines with marijuana?
I can't think of a single person, and that includes the Pope.
So that's something that's understandable. Although she should have had people that know better, that could get her pot in London. But but it's an understandable mistake, and hopefully she doesn't pay for it too severely.
Yeah, well, she was fined and left, right? And I love the Dutch. The Dutch are great, and they're very sensible up until they're not. And so I'm sure they were just like, we don't need the bad press, we don't need the blah. Pay your fine and you go. So, but I don't know that, right?
Yeah.
So yeah. And who'd have thunk that we now live in a world where marijuana is so legal and tolerated that it's basically now like having too many bottles of alcohol when you come through customs.
Right.
I mean, I wouldn't travel with it because
no way.
Illegal.
So my apology expected is also a plane related or travel related apology expected, and that is American Airlines, who has disavowed a response from its lawyers blaming a 9-year-old girl for using an airplane bathroom with an active recording device allegedly placed there by a former employee. The airline said what it described as outside legal counsel retained with our insurance company made an error in filing a legal argument Monday, responding to a lawsuit filed by the girl's family. American has fired that law firm and replaced it on the case. The girl is one of several children whom Estes Carter Thompson III allegedly filmed in lavatories while working as a flight attendant. He was arrested earlier this year and has a court appearance scheduled for July 1st. American's lawyers wrote that the child's alleged harm had been caused by her own, quote, fault and negligence because of her use of the compromised lavatory, which she knew or should have known contained a visible and illuminated recording device. I mean, this kid was 9 years old. What the fuck? And for them to say that they made an error in filing this as a legal argument is bullshit, because you know that American Airlines leadership viewed this lawsuit before it was filed. So
sure, totally.
They totally knew that they were going to blame the child, but it's just a PR mistake, and now they're trying to fix it. But
how is that ever going to be a win? Let's blame the 9-year-old.
I know, right? You should have known there was a camera in the bathroom. What?
Okay, let's play that game. Now I'm going to be her attorney, right?
Okay.
Yeah, so she walked in the bathroom and she saw a camera that was recording, right? She's 9 years old. For all she knows, they're recording you because they're allowed to.
Right.
She doesn't know that it's a pedophile who's recording. It could be the air recording her, making sure she's safe.
Yeah, could be.
Making sure anything. I don't know.
I don't know, but she's 9, so it's a ridiculous argument, and American Airlines deserves all of the bad press they're getting as a response.
Oh, man. And, you know, like, just when you think that we live in a world, I can't say where this stuff doesn't happen, but like, who does that?
Who
puts up a camera somewhere? You're going to get caught.
Yeah. I mean, Jesus.
And I hope you do.
And you did. So that's it for me for this week. I wish everyone a fantastic week. And I think we have no further words except for stay cool, cucumbers.
And don't trip potato chip.
And have a great week. Goodbye.
Goodbye, everyone.
Thank you for listening to Apologies Accepted, the podcast.
You can find links to the articles and the sources in the show notes.
To submit an apology or find out more, visit us at apologiesaccepted.net, where you can also find our merchandise.
We're on Twitter at Apologies Accepted.
And on Instagram at apologies.accepted.
You can support our important work at Patreon.com/Apologies Accepted.
And fuck Facebook.
Bye.
Bye.